posing with celebrities. Skip the line, I'm VIP. Ay, oh my god, I'm such a cliche. Sing along to Wannabe. We all clap on 1 and 3. Ay, oh my god, I'm such a cliche. And my mama's so afraid that I will never change. But I blame it on society, we're all the same. Dressing like a beauty queen, anything to make a scene. Oh my god, I'm such a cliche. Sipping on a skinny bitch, acting like I'm filthy rich. Oh my god, I'm such a cliche. All my friends are faking it, can you tell we're full of shit? Eh. Oh my god, we're such a cliche. I used to make fun of them, it turns out that I'm one of them. Oh my god, I made a mistake. Always wake up in the morning saying I should change. I keep doing stupid things to make you look my way. Dressing like a beauty queen, anything to make a scene. Oh my god, I'm such a cliche. Sipping on a skinny bitch, acting like I'm filthy rich. Oh my god, I'm such a cliche. I'm such a cliche. Oh my god, I'm such a cliche. Always wake up in the morning saying I should change. I keep doing stupid things to make you look my way. Oh my god, I'm such a cliche. Dressing like a beauty queen, anything to make a scene. Oh my god, I'm such a cliche. Sipping on a skinny bitch, acting like I'm filthy rich. Oh my god, I'm such a cliche. I'm such a cliche. Oh my god, I'm such a cliche. Dressing like a beauty queen, anything to make a scene. Oh my god, I'm such a cliche.
Hello dear students and welcome to Audi E-Tron GT course. This is MS3D Academy and I'm Muhammad and I want to teach you how to create this Audi E-Tron GT model in Autodesk Alias surface. Okay, first of all I have to tell you that you have different menus here, so you can just change the time. My time is already dark and you can change it to white. Make sure you have checked the basic tutorials before you start this, and yeah, after that we can go ahead. Thank you. Okay, we're back. I want to tell you that you can follow this tutorial step by step in order to create a full and actually good detailed Audi E-Tron GT 3D Alias model. We have just uploaded different references for you. For example, Audi E-Tron GT official blueprint and also Audi E-Tron GT reference file, which is actually an alias wire file that you can use it as a reference. And yeah, first of all we have to just try to find blueprints if you haven't find that in our uploads. But before that, please make sure that you have followed the basic tutorials, because we are not going to talk about every surfacing details and methods. Okay, so we just want to talk about the E-Tron GT and how to create this. So basic tutorial is actually what you need at the start. Okay, we're back here and I told you about the start. For the start, actually, you need to check out a website called netcarshow.com. Netcarshow.com is actually a website providing official car images and car photos and also blueprints, for example. So you can just find official released photos and blueprints here. So for example, Audi E-Tron GT, let's just find that Audi E-Tron GT concept is here. Okay, so we're gonna create this. So here you can find some reference photos of the car. These are all official photos, and if you click on each one, you'll actually have watch that in high quality. Yeah, uh, the car has different photos here. So from the front, back, studio shots, environment shots, and anything. The point is the car in different angles and in different lighting will have different reflections. Okay, so the reflections of the car body is showing you the quality of surfaces and the flow of surfaces, and how are the surface behaviors. So just keep in mind to check out the official photos if you wanna just start from a blueprint and create a car from zero. Okay, so we need three different things here in order to start. We need reference photos, we need blueprints, and these are the photos from the car that we just created in Autodesk Alias during this tutorial. As you can see, the final mold is actually very similar and close to the reference photos of Audi E-Tron GT. And yeah, these are actually the final photos of the car. Yeah, here for example you can see the patch layout and surfaces and very good details here, and this is what you'll achieve during this tutorial. And also I told you we have some blueprints, but the official blueprint of Audi E-Tron GT is just released, and you can find that in Audi E-Tron GT RS in Netcar shop. Okay, now just let's start and create a new layer here. You know how to create layers and folders. So let's just add the references to one folder. The reference is actually the car, the final car mold that we have here. You may download and import that to use it as a reference. And here we can just import an image canvas. Yeah, just don't forget to check that box, and let's import the car blueprints from different views. But when we released this tutorial, there were no official blueprints, and that's why we just used our final Alias screenshots of Audi E-Tron GT in order to have a blueprint. Now let's continue and go ahead and start. Okay guys, let's start. I told you about the references, the blueprint, and also the reference file, and also the photos. Okay, so if you have the file, you can just import that from here, import file, and yeah, just import the wire file and keep layers. And yeah, here's the file, for example. Here's the downloaded file, and you can just click on it and click on, yeah, you'll have the file on the screen like what I did here. Now I just added all the layers into one folder. So I just created from layers here a folder, and I just moved all the layers on it with the middle mouse. Okay, so when you click on each part, one part is going to be selected. Okay, so if you don't want to have this, I mean, if you want to disable that, you can click here, and I just added that layer or folder to reference. So if you click here or anywhere, you cannot select that, but you can just use the surface edges or curves there in order to create new curves, for example. So the reference layer or folder is actually usable for usable as a reference actually, and you can just create curves based on that. This is very helpful for this tutorial. You know why? Because we want to just create a very close mold to this Audi E-Tron GT Final 3D mold. Okay, so just if you have the file, just add it to the reference first. Okay, imagine if you wanna split this full car into one half car and then have a symmetry on another side. Okay, how can this be possible? Okay, you can just, for example, let me just click this part. You know, we have a group of surfaces. These are just group, and if you click on a group, it will be on group, and you can select each surface. But there's a trick. You can just select project tool, and project is actually working on surfaces, so it is going to pick surface tool. So you can just pick all these surfaces and then just simply delete that. Yeah, but I told you this is also possible with pick surface tool, but you know, this was actually a trick to do this. Okay, now if you just click on symmetry, you will have this a symmetry of this car. So imagine if I have a layer here called reference layer, reference folder, and yeah, if I check symmetry for each one of these layers, I'll have the symmetry on the other side. But you know, some of the students may experience a wrong plane, so you can just go to layers and here symmetry and set plane. You know, this is the plane that is going to be used as a symmetry plane tool. So for the symmetry plane tool, so if you just rotate this and click on set plane or set as default, it will be fixed. So make sure you just set this plane at the center. Okay, now you have one side of this car and the other side is actually the symmetry one. So there are many pros in this because your CPU is and GPU are not going to experience very hard pressures. And now I can just add all these to the reference. Now let me just create a new layer and name that, for example, 1. And as you see, it just added n. It means you cannot add numbers to the layer name, and it will start with a letter. So make sure you just created a new layer with a name starting with a letter. Okay, so for example, curves or surfaces or anything, Matt, Max, Muhammad, anything. Another important thing for naming in Autodesk Alias is that your file name should include just English letters. It means if you add, for example, Chinese or French or I don't know, any other languages here, Korean, anything, you will face problem loading the file or naming the file. So don't do that. Okay, just imagine that we wanna just hide some parts. You are going to click on this folder and you can just simply hide these parts. For example, imagine if you want to just work on a mirror or just work on the body separately, so you can just easily do this. Yeah, but I told you that you can just easily select each surface by pick surface tool or even project tool and add them to a group with Control G hotkey or on the edit tab and group. Okay, so you can group any surfaces here. Okay, so everything is ready for importing the blueprints here. You know, it's very important to have a reference for your car. It can be a sketch or a blueprint or a reference file. So one of these should be done. In order to import blueprints, you have to take care of the dimensions first of all, and after that you can just import one blueprint or actually canvas image in a layer called in the new layer called canvas, for example, and you have to go to the separate view, for example left, a flat view, and then import canvas image. Don't forget to check this one, import new canvas, and here find the canvas, actually the blueprint of your car. For example, inside I want to import the side view for the left, and the front of my car will be actually at the left of the screen. So if you check the front view, you will see the front face of the car. Okay, I'm gonna scale it down and just move it up, move it left, move it right, and as you see, it is easily possible by right click and middle click. And if you go to perspective, yeah, you can just use X, Y, and Z with left, middle, and right click for move. And let me just import the second one, for example, the top view, because the top view should be here at the top. Okay, the top view is here. I'm going to open that. Make sure that the file format is okay, but you know, the files, the materials we just uploaded is actually correct, so don't worry about that if you just download it from the website. And we have to match these two. Okay, so but in order to do this, we have to consider a reference dimensions for this. How can this be possible? First of all, let me just move this a little bit up in order to have a closer dimension. You know, the top and side are actually same in length, so you have to match these two in length. So the starting point and the end of the car should be on the same points. Okay, now for the dimensions, we are going to use a cube for dimensions. What I mean, you know, we will have a cube actually dominating this car, and the length, the height, and also the width of the car. So let me just check the blueprints first. For example, imagine if you have a curve here, and let me just click on this curve and go to the side view. Where is this? It's actually here. So it was actually a fast test in order to check if the blueprint is okay or not. It seems like my blueprint setting is okay because the B pillar of the Audi E-Tron GT car is actually rely on the side and the top view at the same time. So I'm just hide this curve, and there is a fact that if you have any problems in curve shadings, I mean, if you wanna watch, for example, thick curves, you can go to anti-alias here and wireframe anti-alias, click on this square and the window will appear, and here if you change the values you will have thicker curves. For example, let me just add it. Yeah, okay. So one of the most important things in Alias is about rotating the camera. You know, you have flat views and also the perspective view, but you have to take care about the point of interest, actually the focus point. So I'm just going to hit Shift Alt and left click on the middle at the middle of the curve, so I can focus that. And if I rotate the mouse, I'm going to hang around this curve. So it is very important to add point of the interest and the focus point, or the focus point on the object that you are working on. We are working on this curve, so I just added focus point on this curve. Okay, so let me just Watch my reference. This is my reference, and my canvas is actually very small, so I have to scale that up definitely. So how can this possible? I mean, finding the dimension of the car. Uh, a basic trick is actually creating, for example, a curve here, and you see the length of the car here. Okay, let me just delete that. Or you can just do that for the height too and for the width too. Okay, let me just tell you about another thing. Another special thing is finding official dimensions. Okay, so imagine if I have an official dimensions from an official Audi blueprint. I'm going to add a cube here and then scale it up. And yeah, I'm going to add the number of the official length here. So this is the official length. So I'm going to scale up the canvas image here. And yep, I have to move it left a little bit. Yes. Now the starting point of the car and the end point is actually matched on my dimensions. So let me just do this for the top view too. I set it. Okay. The setting are okay now. But you know, the width is actually wrong. So let me just change it, for example, to here. You know, you can just add a number here for y axis wide. But first of all, let me just take care about my blueprints because they are not at the center. The center line of the blueprint should rely on the center line of your grid. You know, we have three different center lines for X, Y, and Z. And yeah, just keep in mind to set it exactly at the center. Okay, now about the height. Yeah, I have to scale that down in order to match that. I have had the length, so I have the height too because I have a reference wall here. Okay, so I have a box here, and the box is actually my dimension set. Okay, so here I just move it a little bit down to include the wheels too, and also set the height of my Audi E-Tron GT. And now let's delete this curve because we don't need that anymore. Now our dimension box is actually ready. Now if I change the shading of this box to shady sky, you see the box is actually our dimension. Now let's just assign that to a new layer and add it to a reference, for example, and our layer is active, and that's why it is showing us the box shading. So if I just create a new layer, or yeah, let me just, first of all, I have to just add this cube on the ground. So let me just move it. Yeah, my cube is actually not on the ground, so I have to move the cube and also the blueprints at the same time. Yeah, the tire should end here. And now about my cube, I have to move it up too. Yeah, that's great. And yeah, the top view is actually not important because if it goes up and down, there's no difference because it's actually on the Z plane, on the XY plane. And no matter if you move that in Z axis. Okay, now I have had another level of transparency here for the canvas images. I mean, you just have a white background here for the canvas image, and you cannot see, for example, the lines of our box on the other side of the canvas. It's about the transparency tab here, and let me just move this down, and here you have canvas transparency. And actually, if you change the opacity, you can see the lines behind that. You see the line cube, the cube lines here. And yeah, if I set it to 0, I will have a white background like this. And if you change the transparency, you will see the lines behind that. You know, it's very useful for the side and maybe the top view, because it will change the transparency in order to see the lines at the back. Let me just change the 10 to the dark too. So yeah, this is very good actually for your eyes. There is also another interesting thing that you can do for this. Imagine if you have a black background here for this photo, for example. You can do that with Photoshop or some other softwares. For example, imagine if you just have the PNG file of the mole only, and you will never have a background there, and it's actually an alpha channel. This is also a very good suggestion, but you know, it doesn't matter, because it just affects your display. It doesn't affect your 3D modeling process. I'm going to create a new curve here from the center line by using the line tool on our key point curve toolbox. So the degree is actually 1. This line is our center line, helping us in setting point of interest, the focus point actually, that you can do that. I told you about the Shift Alt and left click. Yeah, you can just click on that line. You have actually 2 different circles. One circle is actually here on your curves toolbox, and one circle is actually on your copy paste. So I'm going to create both, and let's see the differences between these two. One of them has spans, and one of them do not have any spans. Yeah, you see this one looks nice and parametric actually, but you know, it has a span, so it's better to use this one on your key point curve toolbox. You know why? Because it just have it just don't have just doesn't have any spans, so we don't need a spans, and we should take care of the spans. And you know, less spans are resulting in better quality. So let me just create a new layer for our curves, and we have to use that circle on our key point curve toolbox in order to create a wheel house for this wheel. I'm going to create a wheel arch here. I just hided the wheel on another layer, and I'm going to create a wheel arch here by using my curves tool. The tool that you're going to use here is actually the circle tool, because I have a circle here, and then I can just extend the sides, and I have to separate the circle to 2 parts, 2 half circles. And okay, so I'm going to create a new circle here, and just try to match the scale of this circle, and the reference blueprint or the reference file, both are okay. Now yeah, so I have actually 3 points, the point at the left, at the right, and at the top. I have a pivot at the center too, so I have to match those 3 points of this circle on the blueprint or on the reference file. Actually, our reference file is working as a blueprint for us because, for example, we are on the side view and we are just watching the curves, and you can also watch the depth of this curve or this surface on the back view, for example, or the front or top view. So let me just match the curve. I have to move it, and let's check from the top view too, a little bit more left. And yeah, it seems like now it is very close to what we had. Okay, we have a tool here called detach tool. It's here on the object edit, and if you click on this point by, for example, shift alt or even holding down control, you can just hit the spacebar, click OK, and you see the circle is just converted to two half circles, so you can keep one and then extend that by using the extend tool. This is actually a trick in Alias, so let me just uncheck the merge because I don't want to merge that new curve because it's going to give me some spans and bad CVs, and I'm going to change that to linear too because I want to have a straight curve. Just for an example, here, one here, and one here based on the blueprint. Okay, what we have here is just straight curves. I have to move the CVs of these two curves, so I'm going to just select them and delete. Okay, so let's just move the CVs, the end CVs of this circle a little bit inside. So after that, when we extend that, we will have a better shaped curve there, actually going inside a little bit. There's a positive flow there if you check that from back view. So let me just move that in perspective, move the two CVs here. And yeah, if you want to have a better flow, you can move the top CV too, because the flow of the curve is based on the CVs, on each CV's position. Okay, I'm just setting the curve here. I'm trying to match that with the reference file. I don't know if you have a blueprint, yeah, you can just check the back view and match them, the curve and the CVs and the blueprint. Okay, let's just change the color, just hold left click there, and yeah, for example, green, we can see this much more clear. Let me just move this a little bit right, because let me just undo that because it's important to have a clean half circle there. I'm going to redo what I did before, and if you change the view in perspective, and you see it's now relied on the curve more. And yeah, we will work on the other surfaces later, but right now I just wanted to tell you how to create this. In order to create all the surfaces of this car and also details, you have to work on the wireframe first and then create surfaces from curves. So actually creating curves is very important. For example, I'm just going to create the character line of the side body of E-Tron GT, and I'm going to move it left. This is actually a very simple work, but it is time consuming. So it's better to devote time on matching the curves and the reference model or blueprint. You can just check it from different views. For example, check the flow and the curve, relying on the body from the top view or in perspective or in back view, side view, any views, and it should be matched if you have imported the canvas images correctly. So if the canvases are matched together, the curves will be matched together too. So let me just create a curve of the hood here. You know, I can use the reference curve here, and yeah, another one here. I'm going to increase the degrees so I can just move this CV up to have a flow here. But I have to take care about the Z and X value of this CV, because the position is going to affect on the flow of this. Okay, let me just create another one for the roof, for example. Imagine if you have created a curve from the front window to the trunk here, and I'm going to increase the CVs. You know, 2 CVs is actually very, yeah. Let me just add another span here. Yep, we don't need a spans. We hate the spans. Just keep this in mind. I wanna work with curve degrees. So if you can't achieve a clean curve, you have to increase the degrees in order to have a better control on that. But you know, you have different tools here in order to have a much cleaner curve, you know, different analysis, but we are not going to work on that because less degrees means better quality. So if you have 1 or 2 or 3 degrees, so it means it's all okay. So I want to have another curve for the front glass here, but you know, these 2 curves are actually tangents. So I'm going to use the align tool and click on the first and the second, and I'm just going to, yeah, move this CV forward in order to have a better line curve. You know, the align is going to make the first curve tangency to the second one. And you know, here, as I'm changing the CV, the flow of that pink curve is going to change. Okay, this is actually wrong. Why this is wrong? Because if you check the surface layout of this car, you'll know that you don't have a aligned curve here. You just have a curve here. So let me just have 1 curve here and 1 curve here without connecting to the front window. Okay, so let me just extend this back a little bit. For example, here, this is actually means creating 2 curves for this kind of flow in your roof and front window is not possible. So I'm going to create another curve here. There's a trick in order to align 2 curves automatically, so it's called blend curve. So if you go to curves toolbox and click on blend curve next to the copy paste folder, here you have auto hide. So if you check that, yeah, and just mouse over that, it will disappear. So what is the blend curve actually? The blend curve is going to connect the first and the second curve with G2 continuity. So if you check, if you move the curve up or down, or I don't know, move the CVs at the first curve or even the second curve, the third curve, the pink curve, the blend curve is going to change in flow. So if you can't create, for example, this roof and front window flow with 2 curves, you have to get help from the blend curve. It means there is a white fillet out there that you have to attention. And wait, Now it looks clear now. You know, we have created the roof curve with 3 different curves and a blend curve. And you know, you can just do this for the other parts. For example, imagine if you want to create a curve for the grill. I'm going to create some curves in order to have my grill here. Just some sample curves first of all by using Alt, and then I have to move all these forward, and then I have to turn on the CVs and move each curve. So you know, each curve has its own flow, so I have to turn on the CVs, and in order to have a flow I have to set this curve to 2 degrees at least. So if you, for example, move this backward, you will have a positional connection at the center. So we don't want that, so I'm going to create another degree here. So this degree, which is actually at the same line of the center curve, is showing me a very good connection at the center. So just step by step do what I'm doing. And there's also another tool called Symmetry Align in the Align tool that you can just do this. You can just use that in order to align the curves at the center. But you know, I'll talk about that later. Right now I just want to work on the wireframe. And yep, you know, here I have to move this CV back and the center CV a little bit forward. I told you about the positional connection at the center, so I have to add 1 more degree here, and my degree is at the center. I have to move it left and hit down Control and match it at the Z-axis and X-axis too. So it's now very good and clear. The very important base of this 3D model is actually wireframe. So take care about your wireframe, your curves. The curves are going to talk about the quality of your surfaces later. So it's important to have curve flaws here. So for example, we have a little bit crown here, so you have to just increase the degree of this surface. Add 1 more degree, for example, have 2 degrees or 3 degrees, and then just simply move this CVs outside in order to have a very nice crown. You know, the car actually including very nice flows and crowns, so it's important to have a good wireframe. And don't forget to use the blend curve here, because the blend curves are going to help us in order to have curvature curve connections. So you know, the curvature called G2, we'll talk about this more later. But right now, what it is important to know is actually that you have to pay attention to curves very much, because the curves are talking about the quality. So just continue and create the curves, the character lines of this car with respect to the reference model. And also, if you have a blueprint, well, you have the curves. You don't need to create shot lines with curves, so just create main character lines. For example, we have done some for you as samples, so you can do the same.